Hey Cardinals fans, welcome to another episode of Birds on a Blue Note. Got my pal RJ here. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Wish the series would have went a little bit better, but I'm doing well.
Ugh, couldn't say enough about that. I mean, thankfully we get the Rockies coming up, so hopefully we can take advantage. But here for what we're here to discuss is the recap of this Astros series in Houston. Always feels weird going back there with them not being in the Central anymore, especially without the giant, you know, hole in
In
field in
center field.
center field.
I mean, our offense appreciates playing in a little league park from time to time, though. So I kind of wish they were in the Central sometimes. Some of these guys on our team would have insane stats playing their
Oh yeah,
15 year or whatever,
it's literally like a backyard baseball ballpark for
except for
those
center
that played
field.
back in the
Yeah.
game. I want Pablo up to be our little Albert.
Yeah. Right. Kid's a
All right.
legend.
So hopping into game one of the series, we had Gibby on the mound going for us, and game started off actually really good. We got home runs from Burley and Gorman again. For those that had been watching previous series, they kept their bats hot, especially Gorman and whatnot, with both solo shots in the first to put us up 2-0 right from the get-go. Um, Able to add another run in the third from Nato, which was great because Gibby had a little bit of a crack in the armor at that point, gave up a couple runs himself, and started to face a little more trouble. So he actually wasn't able to get a quality start like we normally could get from him. And unfortunately, having the bullpen go, what was it, 6 innings roughly the game before, five and a half?
Yeah. It was a lot.
It was a
Yeah.
lot.
We used like 6 or 7 different pitchers that game, seven counting the starters. So I
But
think it was,
yeah,
yeah, six
so
innings.
anyways, finally got to the later innings and JoJo was able to get out of a jam, but then came back out in the eighth, and that wear and tear from the week just finally showed. Gave up a four spot and, blown save for him. I believe it's the first time this year he's given up multiple runs in an inning. So obviously atypical, but when you've been having to go to the pen recently as much as we have because of the starters, it was inevitable. But we do drop this one, lost 7-4. Oh, I did forget Gorman had another home run later on.
Two. Yeah, he hit two.
That kid's on fire right now. He's either striking out or hitting it out of the park.
I mean, even if you even watched them, even the at bats, like I'm gonna reference today, which is not game one of the series, but today, without spoiling too much, he didn't homer, but he hit two that were like right there. He hit one center field, 410 feet, 106 off the bat for an out. Sucks. And they hit one right up against the fence, like at the edge of the track, right up against the fence and right, also for an out later in the game. So he's like even when he's not homering, which has been a lot lately, he's taking good at bats. So that is something I wanted to point. Like the game sucks. Obviously, we lost. JoJo 3 earned runs. There was an unearned run on a Gorman error in the eighth also, which kind of was like the nail in the coffin at that point. You felt like, all right, it's over. Um, but yeah, he actually had reverse splits on the series. I know a lot of people were kind of hard on Ali for that decision, and I understand it. You don't always want to go to him, but at the same time, like out of the pen without Kittredge being available at the time and using as many arms as we did the day before, he was our best option. In my opinion, because he does have the reverse splits. So it's gonna happen. He's been so good all year. You're gonna have an off night every once in a while. I mean, it was what the Yainer Diaz home run, 2 run shot, really kind of sealed the deal. That was the backbreaker, I think, is Bregman homer to tie it, and then you think, okay, well, if we can get out of this with the tie, and then we didn't, and then he hit the home run, and then we had an error. And typical of the Cards lately, if we have an error, that guy always comes around to score. Um, yeah, that it feels bad because that was definitely a game we felt like we were going to win, like the whole
Yeah.
game. Usually, we have the lead in late innings. We feel really good about it. There's just one of those rare instances where JoJo wasn't on. So I mean, there's not much more you can say about that.
No, there really isn't. And I mean, for those that were watching the game, if you watch JoJo's pitches, like they weren't comfortable hits. Even some of those home runs, they're like way out in front of the plate. I was watching the replays again today for the highlights, and like their bat is so far in front of the plate when they're making contact. And again, it's
Well,
just
they're
that
playing
little
to their
league
park.
park.
Yeah, they're playing to the park. They're playing. It's Minute Maid, you know. You don't have to hit it hard or far to hit a home run there.
Yeah, you
Uh,
just need to hit it up in the air.
Yep, I think like if you go back years ago when we were playing the Astros when they were in the Central in the playoffs, this is actually I think the famous Pujols game where he hit that home run off ledge. The reason we were down in the first place is because Berkman had a 3-run home run earlier in the game, and I think it was something like 280 feet. He hit it like 80 miles off the bat, and it was a home run. And like, this is disgusting. This should not be happening in Major League Baseball, but it
Yeah.
does. It's just they played, and that's what you should do. You know, if you're the home team, you should play to your park's advantage, and that's what they did.
You should,
Um,
and obviously the downside of us not playing there really anymore is our guys aren't used to having to play for that sort of
yeah,
thing. So
they got to
they're
like adjust their whole swing to the park, and you don't want them to do that just for
no, but we got guys like Gorman hitting it 410 to center, and they're hitting it 320 over there, and it's gone.
and it's 5 rows deep.
It's bouncing off of the train. No,
Yeah, whatever. I mean, yeah, it's a sucky loss, but
it is.
can't be too mad because JoJo's been money for us all year, and like logistically, that's probably the right moves to leave him out there because of the reverse splits, and he was the best arm we had available. You can say, well, why didn't we pitch someone else? Well, the other options are like Kyle Leahy or like John King, and like, do you really feel more comfortable with them than JoJo?
Yeah.
Probably not. So, yeah, whatever.
Yep. Um, I mean that pretty much does it. They're like you said, pretty cut and dry for game one. We know what went wrong. No real other shout outs. But yeah, heading into game two, Burley kept up his hot bat with another home run in the first, and from
Three
there
games in a
pretty
row.
much went downhill with Valente on the mound, and they got to him pretty quick. They had put up 6 runs by the third on him, and
We're 6 in the first. That's
what was
ugly.
that?
Yeah. They scored 6 in the first inning against us.
Who?
Houston scored 6 on us in the first.
No,
Are you sure?
2 in the first and then 4 in the third.
Oh, okay. I'm tripping. I'm sorry.
I was like, what? It may have seemed like that, but no, they scored more of those runs in the third.
Oh, yeah, that's my bad. That's my bad. Keep going.
And yeah, I mean, Palente gets pulled in the third, and we're back to another bullpen game. Just a recipe for disaster, ultimately. And I think Libby came in for one guy, and that was it.
Yeah, you got the rare. They played the bullpen game with that and make
Yeah,
sure there was already 2 outs in the inning before they went to him for the matchup,
yeah.
which
I mean, just
fine.
another crazy game. More errors this game continued our streak of, continuing to let guys get on. And really, the only positive note from this game is that uh, Gorman ended up homering as well, which ended up meaning that Gorman and Burley actually well, guess it's setting a record, but they became the first pair of Cardinals teammates to homer in 3 straight games together,
Yeah,
which when you do anything for the first time in this franchise, that it's always quite an accomplishment considering how
yeah,
long we've been around.
especially if you look at the names that have come through here. I mean, like even on
Yeah.
the current roster, you have Goldie and Arenado and Contreras, and then like in the past, you had Pujols and Edmonds and Roland, and before you had Brock and Musial, and it's crazy. It's never happened before, but I mean, they're on the heater right now, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really the only highlight, positive highlight for us.
Yeah, other than me messing up because I was taking my notes earlier, I must have like squinted wrong and I mixed up the one and the three. Um, I mean, really the backbreaker. was that Donovan bases loaded strikeout,
Yeah.
seventh inning, because we were mounting a bit of a comeback as Mason Wynn homered, had a 2-run home run. Was it going to double check to make sure I don't get it wrong? And the sixth, and then Gorman homered in the seventh, and at the time it was a 7-5 game. We're still in the seventh inning. We have the bases loaded and Donovan up, and this is like guy who's one of the better, like has been one of the better contact hitters in the game for the past couple of years. So you don't expect him to just strike out the way he did, and probably could have plugged the highlight here. It's pretty bad. He took two fastballs right down the middle and didn't even swing. Is very ugly, and it kind of sucked the life out of the team at the time. And then you go back to the eighth, or you go to the bottom of the seventh. I'm sorry, another error, and then another unearned run scored, and that was it. Nail in the
Yeah.
coffin. Bought too many of those lately. Got to clean that up.
It, and like you said, it just sucks because we had started to like mount something and there was some excitement going, and then yeah, it just gets killed with 2 outs there. So there's nobody, you know, up after inning over. They add runs and you know,
And I
came
do want to
back.
mention also there was a bit of delay going into the sixth inning. One of the Houston staffers had some sort of medical emergency. We never really quite found out, so hope they're okay. There was this weird delay in between innings, and everyone's just kind of wondering what the heck is going on, and that's all the information we have on that. So, like I said, hope they're all right.
Yeah. So another loss, 8-5, drops us another game down and in the standings as well as other teams like Chicago were winning. So, you know,
Playing the White
shooting
Sox.
ourselves in the foot, man. We can't be doing that ultimately. But that takes us into game 3 today, which was a lunch special for those who got to watch it. Unfortunately, if you were at work and couldn't catch it, we do have a quick recap rundown video that you can check out, as well as watching the highlights we're going to play right now on here for this video. Had Miles on the mound against Blanco, and a lot of people were chalking this up as a sweep right there from the pitching matchup. But this is why we play the games, ladies and gentlemen, because it was anything but. Got on the board first with a Donnie single in the third, and then in the fifth and whatnot, or sorry, not in the what was I saying in the third?
Yanni sack fly. It's
Yeah, it
our
was the
our
Siani
boy
sac
Brandon
fly.
Crawford, my favorite player on the Cardinals, is Brandon Crawford.
I mean,
The
you know what
double.
I love is that Siani's putting bat on the ball when guys are in position. I don't care that it's you know whatever he's doing, but um, he became, I think it was the first Cardinal player since 1988 to record a sac bunt and sac fly in the series. So, I
That's
mean,
wild.
just shows you how like we've gone away from those like small ball practices over the
I mean, it's
last
team first too,
25
right? Like
years.
I think he kind of knows his role. Like I'm a defensive first player. I'm going to be batting the bottom of the order, move the runners over, let the other
Yeah.
guy drive them in. Or if I can put the ball in play when there's a runner third, that's what I'm going to go for. So
E-
good on him.
Exactly. I mean, it's going to keep him up here ultimately. And then so going into the fifth, we were able to add on more. Like that's where I got confused a little second ago. Sorry, late night. Donnie had a single, and then that was followed by Burley's double to drive him in as well. And Miles had a little bit of trouble in the fifth, as he usually does. Gave up 2 solo shots, but was able to work out of trouble there, get a quality start. Actually, it's his fourth quality start in his last 5 starts. The only reason that fifth one wasn't was because he ended short of 6 innings. He actually had under 3 runs in that game. So he's been quietly good, not great,
He
but like
has the
good
problem
of
is his
late.
season started off so rough that his ERA, I think, is still in the sixes. Or
It,
nope, it's in the fives now. He's at a 5.32 now. So it's dropped quite a bit since then. It's just it's he had a rough start, like a lot of Cardinals did though. So it's good to see him coming around a little bit.
Oh yeah,
It was a
absolutely.
little odd though. They pulled him at 62 pitches.
Mhm.
I guess he's prone to the long ball, and Elliott played for the win there in the Little League Park. So
Well, it's one of those things where, yeah, this by the time he gets through the third time in the order, his numbers, just like Matt's, they're normally not that great. So I feel like whatever pitch count he's at, if you can get him out there, fine, do it, you know? But Nato came in the sixth, added a solo shot. Good to see him get on the board, even if it is in that rinky-dink ballpark, that helps the confidence and whatnot. That usual fly ball and Bush was now a home run for him and everything. But Helsley came in, the bullpen did its job today. Helsley sets, what is it, his career record? Or does
yeah,
he
his
tie?
yep, career best, 20 saves now, first in baseball.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he went to Ollie. You could tell Ollie went for the win on this one, pulling Miles at 62 pitches because that's just like that goes against everything that you want from a starter. So he went back to JoJo, build that confidence back in JoJo. JoJo had to clean inning, Kit had to clean inning, and the Helsley shut it down. And he looked really good too. So uh, that was good. 1, 2, 3 in the ninth. No scares there. It's always nice. Um, but yeah, as you mentioned, like it's good to see Burley keep the hot bat, and you want to see more power from Arenado, obviously. Like, we've been one of the better offenses in baseball for the past month, and that's been mostly without much contribution from Goldschmidt and Arenado. So it's nice
Mhm.
to see them contribute when they do, because like you could just imagine, like, a lot of us had this team pegged as a top 10 offense going into the season. So it was just kind of head scratching the way we started this year off, especially the big guys in the middle. But now the offense has come around quite a bit, and that's being carried by everyone but them, really. So, and when we're missing Contreras and we're missing Lars still. So,
Yeah.
um, I have some notes for the offense the last 30 days. Fourth in home runs, and again, like without much from Goldschmidt or Arnado. Sixth in average, seventh in on base, fourth in slugging, without much from Goldschmidt or Arnado. Third in OPS with almost next to nothing from Goldschmidt or Arnado in that department. It's crazy. Like you see the guys like on this team. There's so much potential there. That's why so many people were just so confused and wanted people fired and at the beginning of the season because there's so much talent there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you talk about Gorman too. Gorman his last 10 games, 342 average, 390 on base. He's slugging over 800, almost 850. Is it 842 slug? 245 WRC plus. He's got 6 home runs in that time span. Six of them came in a 7 game span. 10 runs, 10 RBIs. His last 30, he's got a 180 WRC plus and 10 home runs and 20 RBIs and 22 runs. On the season now, like because he had a terrible start to the season. He's got 14 home runs now and 31. He's on pace to hit 38 home runs playing second base, which is absurd. Obviously, if you watch him enough, he's a guy that goes through ebbs and flows a lot, and they're pretty drastic. Like earlier in the year, he looked like he couldn't hit anything, and now he's like the hottest hitter on the planet. But I mean, I expect him to be like this middle order contributor probably for like the next 7, 8 seasons, assuming we lock him up. So it's nice to see him kind of get back into his groove a little bit.
I mean,
I
we
like
can only hope so to have a nice set person at second. Again, same with short with Win, having that locked down the middle. Two things. It gives us as fans, that comfortability, but even for them as players too, like shortstop and second base, you get to know each other. You guys get really tight. You need to know where each other are at like all times on the field and have that like unsung communication where you know who's going after the ball, who's covering the base, all that sort of stuff. So the familiarity that they have with each other, who knows, maybe a few years down the road, we're going to start seeing some slick glove to glove, barehanded plays, stuff like that,
Well, they had
highlight
a
that
nice
sort of
double
stuff.
play turn just a few days ago, also, where Gorman flipped it from his glove. Like he caught it and like if you remember watching Colton Wong, he did this also to win as he's crossing double play. Like to Gorman's credit, he's worked really hard at second base, and while he's not the best defender there yet, he's improved drastically each year. So
Hmm.
I mean, just the more time he spends there, the more comfortable he gets. I could see him getting better, even like to being just a plus defender.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So good news there. Anything on the pitching side?
I did want to talk about the bullpen a little bit because they got used quite a bit. And outside of that one inning from Romero, they were actually fairly good again. 7 and 2/3 innings from the bullpen this series, 4 earned runs, but three of them came from Romero in the game one in that eighth inning. It was like the backbreaker. So 4.69 ERA on the series for the bullpen as a total. But like I said, it was one bad inning that kind of really inflated all those numbers. Um, you'd like to see pitchers go deeper, obviously. Gibson didn't get a quality start. No, none of her pit. The only guy that made it to the six or through the six is Miles. We only got half of that from Palante. Um, I mean, next series you got to get more from your starters. That's really what it comes down to. Can't count on the bullpen for every game. We covered a lot of innings.
Yeah. And I mean, we've got this upcoming homestand with not just Colorado coming into town, but the Pirates as well. Two big series for us to gain ground in this race and hopefully separate ourselves more from the division. I mean, those 7 games, if we can take advantage, I mean, right now Padres are on a slide. A lot of teams are having trouble. This Central and NL race is pretty wide open, you know. You got the Giants, they've lost 4. Um,
Cubs have won 3 in a row, unfortunately, but they just finished wrapping up playing the White Sox, who led in all 3 games and blew it all 3 games. It's a very Cardinal thing to do. So,
I mean, you
uh,
got the Brewers losing 3 in a row as well right
yep, they got
now.
swept by the Phillies. Bunch of frauds. I knew they weren't that good.
I mean, it's wide open ultimately. We're only 6 games back of them right now, and we've been worse off. If we can take advantage right now of these games, we could find ourselves in a good position. I mean, really, we just need to be able to hold on for the next month. If we can have a solid position for playoffs in the next month, this front office, I know they might not make like the giant splash everybody wants them to, but they will find ways to shore up the pen or starting pitching. Like it may not be somebody everybody wants, it might be another Lester Hap, but somehow Mo usually finds a way to get good deals at the deadline through when he wants to for this team. Again, it's not going to be something that's going to shoot us up to a World Series contender, but if you look at any of these metrics the last few years since the additional wild card spot's been added, wild cards made it to the World Series twice, and the division opponent has lost both times in those years.
Yeah,
So
it's a crapshoot for
it
sure.
it really is. It's who's hot right now. So I mean, I just want to see us add a 2 or 3 starter.
I would give Detroit a call and talk about our old buddy Jack up there, he's figured something out being healthy this year. I was just looking at it earlier. He's 3-4, so he's got a losing record, but he's got a 3.2 ERA on the season. He's at 94 strikeouts. Uh, to put in perspective, right now, Glasnow leads the majors with 100. So he's like right behind Tyler Glasnow in strikeouts. So he's been pitching really well.
I mean, I don't know though, because like I know he had a really, you know, black and white following here in St. Louis. You either loved him, it seemed like, or you hated him. I don't know if how much of that's like a change of scenery with him that being like newer to that area, so they're not as familiar with him. But like,
But people felt that way about Lance Lynn too. So I because Lance Lynn had that interview a couple of years ago where he said he wouldn't pitch for the Cardinals. We were on his do not trade list. And people were like, "Oh, I don't. If he doesn't want us, we don't want him." And it's like, okay, that's fine. The guy's a dog, but and now he's back and he loves it, and he says he loves it. I don't know. I
yeah,
think
but
a
difference
lot of
with
that is
Lynn
hearsay
was
too.
difference with Lynn was that was after he was already with the team, whereas like Jack's stuff was because of the comments he made on social issues while he was with our team, and the like shut up and play type
Yeah, we
of
should probably shouldn't
responses.
dive into that too much, but yeah, there's always a vocal minority on Twitter that are like that. Um, I don't know. That's just one of the names that popped in my head. Like this might work, maybe. He's pitching really good right now. He'd immediately slot in as their number two.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to see us make some improvements, but I mean, we're not in charge of that sort of stuff. So it's going to be curious to see what they do, but it's ultimately up to the players to make sure we're still in this playoff race and whatnot, to encourage them to go more all in, get some rentals, all that sort of stuff. I mean, you never know who's going to be available at the deadline. Obviously, we'd like to get somebody a little more long term, especially if we're going to have to part with prospects and whatnot, but remains to be seen. Yeah, I mean, ultimately dropped this series again, as you said earlier, very winnable series. So just can't be giving up things like this.
Unearned runs and one bad inning from the bullpen really is what you can look at for what decided the series.
Yeah,
Timely strikeout too from Donovan, I guess, also. But I don't want to get too mad at Donovan because he's typically pretty good for us. And then he's having a down year this year, don't get me wrong, but he's also been hurt a little bit and he's coming back. So we'll see. I don't expect him to do that again anytime soon. It was just one of those weird things where you looked at him and you're like, what the heck are you doing? I've never like watched Brendan Donovan play and be like, what the heck are you doing?
yeah,
Usually takes some of the more professional at bats in the league. So just bad timing.
yeah, it really is. Tell us about it. So looks like we're back at it tomorrow night, like I said, against the Rockies. Again, this is going to be a 4 game series, and then we have the day off on Monday before we face Pirates and Cubs. Um, but yeah, any final thoughts right now?
Not on the series that we just played, but we are unfortunately missing Dakota Hudson in the Rocky series. So he won't get his big standing O for being the run giving merchant he was while he was here. Um, yeah, we get to see our boy Gomber though, so hopefully he doesn't shove because I can imagine what the Twitter Spaces would be like if he doesn't not
Oh
have
yeah,
had that series. So the I mean, really it comes down to beating the bad teams, right? Like we should have beat the Astros. That sucks. I could have lived with losing the series to the Phillies, winning a game and not getting swept, but losing the Astros stinks. Should
yeah.
be uh, less sloppy mistakes, a little better bullpen management, and we probably win the series.
No,
Is what it is. You got to bounce back, beat the bad teams. This is right now playing them, and then like the Reds, and was it the Padres you said or the Pirates? The Pirates. This is where we really need to make a push and separate ourselves a little bit from the rest of the wild card bunch if we can.
yeah. You really have to. So that'll wrap it for the recap. Reminder, if you're not already subscribed, we are counting down our final handful of followers. We are at 94 right now, 6 more to go before RJ raffles off that mystery bag to one of the subscribers. And also for those of you who are hockey fans, we actually have a very in-depth draft mock video for the upcoming draft in Vegas. So feel free to check that out. Player highlights are included as well. And we will see you later this week for more coverage of the Cardinals with the Rockies series. And I believe we actually have a mailbag episode we're going to be filming later this week, as well as be on the lookout for a prospect video that should be dropping next week as well with updates on prospects. Real quick note, Tink did actually leave early in his start tonight with the trainer, so we'll try to get you updates on that this week via a rundown update. All right, guys, have a good one and take care.